want to go over anything?
Why don't you explain what an MS4 is? For
Yeah. I mean, yeah, just do a little bit of the presentation.
And then people on Facebook who are watching later, just explain what MS4 stands for, like with the letters.
Yeah, so MS4 is municipal separate storm sewer system. It's a density of families is required to report on an annual basis of what we've done. So, development, highway department, all kinds of different things we track. Catch basin cleaning, retention ponds, inspections that the inspectors do to building sites and subdivisions. Because we're also in Onondaga Lake watershed, Deb and I do quarterly reports. And that's for a portion of their Lake Creek. Northwest part of town, next to DeWitt. There's a small portion over there that drains the Onondaga Lake. So we have to do special procedures over there for nitrogen and phosphorus. We've only got one or two entities over there on subsurface, but we don't have any problems traditionally. Go to supposed to be regional planning. Regional planning over the past 4 or 5 years has been able to secure grants, and they've got most of the coalition areas all of GIS. So if anybody has an issue or a question, we're out. I believe we have outfall pipes in some of the centroids and some of the retention ponds. Those are on the GIS. I haven't looked at it in a while, but all the outfalls are definitely there, and that's a tool that we're starting to use more and more. Rob and Janet company. County does inspect our outfalls, but the guys in the highway department, just because of what they do, especially in the wintertime, they all have the same route. So, you might get a call, like, if they're out plowing Monday night, you might get a call Tuesday that, hey, I saw something goofy coming out of Limestone Creek, just didn't look right. There was steam coming off, there shouldn't be steam, or there was an orange color. So, just the level of sophistication of stormwater has been brought up a level, especially in Manlin's, right? And all our constituents, call in and keep us abreast of the situation. Like today, somebody called and said, I think somebody's putting debris in Butternut Creek, yes, at high school. So we took a run out, we looked, and he wasn't, but it's just.
We have had situations where people have been, they've been stopped and made to clean it out. So those neighbors call.
And then the coalition sponsors some educational materials.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
So there is public information available about stormwater that's pretty good.
Yeah, there is, and there's. I mean, I don't know if you guys got a copy on it, but it just came out. Was it last week? Would you just call it rain gardens and gutters?
Oh, it's already up on the website.
Yeah. It just came out. But there are little things that you might not even know happen, like when you open up the Eagle Bulletin, and there's a piece of Oak Grove that's partially sponsored by regional planning for stormwater, because it'll say don't pollute, drains to the stream. I haven't done it in a couple of years, but Barry Ward up at FM High School, Brian Kincannon. Sorry about that. They're both in the science department.
Yeah.
So for several years, I would go up and had a camp presentation. It's a little bit dated now, but it was pretty good. It was on Onondaga Lake. It was a video, and you could talk to the students, you could talk to the different faculty about what the stormwater program is, and then you could I would always get it into job creation too, career paths, because there's all kinds of stuff in environmental compliance. You could be a drafter, you could be an econ officer, you could be an attorney, you could be an engineer. get that discussion going back and forth. You know, some classes were really good. You had some kids engaged, others kids just were sleeping. But I guess what I'm getting at, you know, for the town's perspective, we've had a pretty good outreach program.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a while, but I don't know if Mike's still flying, but Mike McGrew, right? When he used to go up his plane, he would take photos. He'd come in, he'd show us, you know, hey, you know, I was up after a storm, hey, what's going on, and, you know, that type of stuff is helpful. You know, we got satellite imagery now and stuff, but those are the type of things that we've traditionally done. And, you know, one of the things in here, they ask how many people have you trained. So there's a ton of cross training. So, you know, Deb's instrumental in putting this together, and, you know, she probably does just as much of it now as I do. So Deb's up to speed on this. Deb and I, over the years, every week there's stormwater reports that come in, and when you get audited, those are the things that they look for.
Yeah.
So we've got a filing system that goes back, like, it'll be like 10 years. I mean, it's pretty
Yes.
it's pretty tedious, but
Yeah.
you have to keep it for like 10 years. So we have all the storm reports. So you know, case in point is like the new dentist office. They have to do weekly reports. We get those, we put them in the file. So, you know, Deb's trained on that area. Lisa knows the code stuff. Mike Gravelli is trained in it. Corbett, not so much. But then you get down to the highway department.
Yeah.
Rob, definitely. Double D, Dan Daniels, Butch Edwards. Those guys are crew leaders, and they're trained because they go to like the local highway department, highway superintendent things, and it's usually a topic of discussion there. You know, part of it is, here are the new regs, and here's what's a pain in the neck, here's what's not going to be a pain in the neck. So, you know, when you look at it, it's a whole team approach. You know, and there's not one person that is more important than the other. But, and I think it was supposed to have been done years ago, but there wasn't supposed to be any fertilizer being put on here. Now somebody came back, put it on, but I think Elaine kiboshed that again, right?
Yeah.
Because we've been reporting that it wasn't on, and then somebody decided they were going to do it, and there's really no need to have it.
So the report in general, is it just kind of like an update on all the different spots in town?
It's pretty much a documentation, right? I think there are 5 or 6 different parts of it, right? So, you know, you go down, it's like public education, public outreach.
The inspections of the construction inspections.
Construction inspections. You know, what has Rob done down at the highway department? And when you look at the whole stormwater program, we were audited 7 or 8 years ago, and it's kind of a friendly audit, because they come in and they call you like a couple weeks ahead of time. We're going to come in and audit it. So, you know, one of the things that they tend to focus on, it's not so much what's going on in the community. I mean, they'll drive around with you, but the real issue is going down to the highway department. So, you know, we do a smoke prevention plan down there. And I believe we update that every 3 years. And Bill Beeman is the environmental steward down there, and he knows his stuff. He's really good at it. So you know, in that smoke prevention plan, there are things that you may or may not think about, but you know, one of the things down there is that building is in a floodplain. So if you look around, and you guys are down there quite often, you might not notice it, but everything's lifted up a little bit. And some things are tied down. So like the fuel tank outside. It's got double containment, but it's also ballasted. So if there were to be a flood, it's not going to float away down to actual topsoil.
So that's like where, when the audit comes into play, that's where they're most concerned, is because you have all these different chemicals.
And what they, I mean, and basically what they do, like if they came into Manlius, right, and Deb and I were here, and they say that they want to go out in the highway department, it's more just being knowledgeable. So if they came and said to Deb, well, you know, where do you keep the reports? Well, she'd go over to the drawer and say, here they are. Right. And it would just be, matter of fact, right here, right. And we have a stormwater management plan
Yeah.
that we updated last year, and that's on the shelf. And
Yeah.
the policy that we've tried to implement is to have all of our SWIPs in one file. So they're over behind Randy's desk. I think a liar out of me, I go over and look, none of them are there, right? But, so, I mean,
Because we moved some drawers around, but okay.
so traditionally, we try to put all the SWIPs there, so if somebody calls up, then, you know, Deb or Lisa or whoever's here can just go and open it up and say, you know, yeah, I've got the SWIP here, you're more than welcome to look at it, and that happens a lot. I mean, you know, somebody will come in and say, you know, this is going on in my neighborhood, I don't think this was right, you know, well, come on in, right? You can look at the SWIP yourself, and, you know, we'll help you get through it. This is what's being done, and this is what should be done, and this is what shouldn't be done.
So the report is just kind of like a summation of all that to send in.
It's kind of do what you say
It's
what you
also a
do.
combination of what Onondaga County has done.
Yeah,
Part of the pages are Onondaga County Coalition and part of it is us.
that's great.
So, and then, like I said, Kathy Bartucci, whenever she sends us anything, I try to put it up on the website or put it in the right.
Yeah,
Like under Planning and Development, Tree Commission, I put gardens and gutters in
Yeah.
there also. Yeah, so, yeah, we all get emails from kids. Get a lot of emails from kids.
But, you know, I mean, you know, from my perspective, right, when I work with Deb or Rob or any other community I'm working in, you know, the reason that the DC has a community do this is it's not so much to check off a box and say, hey, you know, here's what you did this year. It's more to educate the hands-on staff
yeah.
of what we should be looking at as we move, you know,
It's more
move into next
instructional than
year, right?
anything else. It's that as you complete the report, you're gonna make sure that if you find something like, hey, I don't know about this, hey, it needs to be addressed.
Yeah, next year we ought
Yeah.
to step it up, right? So like, you know, this year, if you were to look at the report, you know, Rob's guys go to the county conferences and stuff, right? And it says, how many times did you attend training?
Mhm.
Well, the training amounts were down
Yeah.
because
Yeah, that was noticed.
there was no training,
Yeah.
right? I mean, doesn't mean we didn't, you know, doesn't mean we were negligent, in not doing that, but
It just
Yeah.
shows the year it was.
Well, this past year, you could see the numbers. when you
Well,
did
it's
the
good too,
report.
because you can see it over years, the trends and everything, and so that I'm
Yeah,
sure
so
being,
there's less outreach this year, too, because we didn't have choice.
yeah,
and you kind of, and when you put it together, right? I mean, it kind of gives you a litmus test on what's going on in the town, right? Because, you know, there might be 4 active subdivisions, right? And that's probably not far from it, right? There's, you know, the Mallards Landing, and Crane Brook, and Megnan, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there's another one. I mean, but and there's probably, this is one of the things I was telling you the other day. You know, this year, I mean, there aren't a lot of new housing starts, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, so you can.
Is Centerfield Court in the village?
Village.
Okay, so, yeah, so, and they haven't started the Rolex one yet, so yeah, it's
Where's
probably
that?
only 3.
Yeah, right, so I mean, you know, and that's, you know, so I mean, between this and you know, being embedded with the police department, now you kind of get a handle of what's going on. You know, it looks like right now, a lot of the things that are going on, are decks and pools.
yeah.
And, you know, some small additions, but probably count on your hand the number of houses that are under construction out there, it's like maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah,
A lot of the people in your community pay a lot of attention to the runoff from their yards.
yeah,
When they put pools in, they actually put drainage in, and they come to the zoning board lots of times with, this has already been planned.
yeah.
This is what our architect told us to do. You know?
I mean, it makes
So they
sense
think
though, because
ahead.
it's in your best interest to not have
Yes.
water pooling in your
In
yard.
your yard or in your neighbor's yard.
Exactly, and then, yeah, you want to address that because you don't want to be the guy that flooded everyone's
It's interesting, here the owners come in and they, well, there's a natural swell that goes through here, so we've aimed it to, and you're just sitting there going, wow. you know?
Yeah, great job.
Yeah.
Awesome. Ooh,
Anything else? Anything new and different? You said just a little lighter because we weren't allowed to do a few things. Yeah.
And, you know, I would anticipate, I don't even know if Manly's would be on the radar to get another audit, right? And if they did, it would be fine. And we had a sewer audit like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And they came through and I mean, you know, we passed with flying colors just because, you know, in Manlius, everybody's always done what's right.
yeah, do the work.
And that's what the
upfront.
constituents want too, right? I
Yeah.
mean, right? I mean, they don't want you cutting corners or anything else.
Awesome.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.